It's been a long week, right? Are you ready to wind down? Why not? It's time for the Wine Time Fridays podcast with Shelley and Phil. Neither are sommeliers, but both have a deep passion for life, each other, and of course, delicious wine. And now, here to talk about this week over a glass of wine is Shelley and Phil. It's wine time!
Hello and welcome to another episode of Wine Time Fridays with Shelley and Phil on this Friday. Egads. Is that correct? February 2nd.
That's correct.
Wow. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
It's wine time. Wow, that was the quickest little ring I've ever heard. In staying with our rhythm of having guests in 2024, 2023, we had 27 guests out of 52 episodes. This year, we're 5 for 5.
Nice.
We're excited to welcome from Peju, the winemaker from Peju, Sara Fowler. Sara, thank you so much for being here.
Yes, welcome.
Happy to be here. Thanks. Cheers.
So we're just going to get into this because we've had a brush with technical difficulties, and I think we all need wine. So I have just opened a 2020, actually this is how we found out about Peju, is this delicious Sauvignon Blanc, a 2022 Sauvignon Blanc from Peju. And I know Sarah's way ahead of us, already poured. Give that a little show. And then we'll put this right here in front of our Sauvignon Blanc sign because I thought that would be appropriate for tonight. And let's do a proper Wine Time Fridays toast to health, wealth, and abundance, gratitude, and romance.
And peace on earth.
I like that. Perfect.
And this is just so, you know what? It needs to be 80 degrees outside right now instead of the 40 degrees.
At least it's not minus 14.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh,
Noticing.
So, Sarah, you're down in Napa.
Yeah.
What are the temps down there these days?
You know, it's been really rainy and incredibly cold the last few weeks, more so than it has been in a long time. But tomorrow and through the weekend, it is supposed to be getting up to almost 70 degrees.
What?
And we are so very much looking forward to it. It's green out right now. So we've had a lot of rain, which makes everything, bright and fresh. And it feels like this weekend's going to feel like spring. It's just, we're really excited for it. So it's been cold and rainy. We have lots and lots of rain, which is great. Most of the irrigation ponds are full, which is big news. And we're very excited to have that.
Yeah, it's kind of a blessing for you guys. That's not always that way down there, is it?
No, it certainly is not. And we've come off of a few years of drought. And this rain is, we need more, believe it or not. But right now the ponds are full and the streams are gushing and it feels really good.
This is absolutely delicious. This is actually everything that I want
In a Sauvignon
Blanc. Yeah.
So this is the 2022 Sauvignon Blanc?
That's correct. So the
100%
yes,
Sauvignon Blanc?
100% Sauvignon Blanc. I have a little bit of a Muscat clone, which is still Sauvignon Blanc, but it has some more of those like little Muscat flavor characteristics, or more aromatics more than anything. And we will be bottling our 2023 next week. So I'm getting close to putting the 23 in bottle, but the 2022 is still tasting fabulous. I pick the grapes in a few different picks, some early picks for some natural acidity, more of, so you can get some grapefruit and citrus notes, and then a mid and a later pick for some of those more tropical notes and more of the stone fruit. I like to blend it together. And after 2020, or maybe during 2020, the Sauvignon Blanc became my and many of the employees at Peju's house water. And so we've kind of made a house water.
I love that. House water. Oh, sorry. I have to do that. Hashtag House water. So, how is the 2023 harvest of Sauvignon Blanc? You're bottling, you say, next week, so they've been in the tanks for a couple months?
Yeah, so everything was a little bit late just in general for the 2023. So we were kind of trending to be around 3 to 4 weeks, what it ended up being for across the board. Sauvignon Blanc did not come in as heavy as some of the other varietals. It was a big harvest. It was a late harvest. But unlike other late harvests, the weather actually really, cooperated with us. And we were, able to have beautiful hang time, great temperatures. It was one of those, I was anticipating and expecting a rainy, cold harvest just because it was so late, and we were blessed with just really great weather, and it was just fantastic. The fruit out there is phenomenal. So it was great. And so Sauvignon Blanc came in later than normal. I usually pick it kind of early, mid, or at least start my first picks early to mid August. I didn't bring Sauvignon Blanc in until September.
Really?
But it was late, but it, still same flavor profiles that you would normally get. We grow our own Sauvignon Blanc, and it turned out it's delicious. So
yeah, Mother Nature has a tendency of telling you when you're going to pick, right?
yeah, one way or another, you really can't push that. There's some tricks in the vineyard that you can do as long as you know ahead of time. But this was because it was such a big harvest as well. More fruit out there than anticipated across the board. This will be just what people were, all my friends. We get together. It's a fun fact. We've been doing it for 16 years. We get together at the Rutherford Grill, which is just down the street from Peju. And there's a group of winemakers, and we've been getting together on Mondays, and only during harvest for martinis. We call it Martini Monday. And we get together and we really just talk about the vintage, talk about what's going on in the vineyards and in the cellar, our interns, all the different things that happen. And so it was, we couldn't start Martini Monday early enough. Like we normally do. At least we I feel like a little gypped there, but that was
It's
great.
true community, isn't it?
It really is. It's, we like to share. We share because we want everybody to do well. How I make wine is going to be different than someone else makes wine down the street. We have different fruit sources. Peju has 6 different vineyard properties up and down the valley. So all the way from Carménère, the cooler region, up to Calistoga on the backside of Howell Mountain. And so, the Sauvignon Blanc here comes from 2 of our vineyard properties that are adjacent to each other.
So tell us a little bit about the winery itself and how it got started.
So we were celebrating. The Peju family bought Peju, the property here in Rutherford, back in 1983, and we had some cab planted. There was a little French Colombard planted here, and so they had, we have a fun fact. We have 0.3 acres planted by Mrs. Peju's house now, just for fun. It might be the most. It is the most expensive French Colombard, I think. Not only in California, say Napa for sure, California, the world perhaps. It's but it's lovely, and she wanted a little something, and Mr. Peju, prior to him passing, had requested that we plant some, and we did. So,
are you producing any wine out of those, or is it just for fun?
Well, so
we do really expensive stuff.
So I do make a wine that's French Colombard. It's 100% French Colombard. And I've been making it the Pejus have been making it for longer than I've been here. So I've been with Peju. I just finished my 18th harvest with them. And I've been 26 years in Rutherford specifically. And we make French Colombard. And so this was the first vintage that we got anything off of this vineyard. It's, again, 0.3 acres. It was very tiny. I just got a very small amount. And so it went into my bigger blend. So that's likely the home for it moving forward.
Nice. That's so fun. That really is just what a great homage to pay, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
So at first I thought you said 3 acres, but it's just 0.3 acres.
0.3, very different. It's almost enough to, It's just enough
Make
to
a
be kind of a pain, but
Almost enough to make a bottle. No, not so much.
So,
yeah.
so on your property, you have these really interesting trees, or are they grapevines? The one that goes like this over the road. What are those?
Okay, so we call them our Dr. Seuss trees, and they are sycamore trees. Mr. Peju
Ah,
planted a row of sycamore trees. And fun fact, the Peju family, so Mr. and Mrs. Peju, started off in the nursery business. And so they came up here without knowing really anything about grape growing, but they wanted to get into grapes and in making wine. And so Mr. Peju, having the background that he does in the nursery business, planted them, and then they got too bushy and pretty much blocked our driveway going into the winery. And so he decided to prune them in this kind of unique way. And so now it's kind of an iconic. Oh, I'm
They
sorry, I
are
didn't hear.
pretty good.
Yes, they are.
so you actually, Sarah, were named Best Local Winemaker by Napa Valley Life magazine in 2016, 2017, 2018. It's because they haven't tasted the 2019 yet. Is that right?
Right, right. No, I was actually they were fantastic. Actually, I have a few more years of getting like second and third place, but those are my like top. So, yeah, no, they were very sweet. I don't know how I deserve that, but it's nice. Someone out there liked it. Kissed. I always joke and say that I shook a lot of hands and kissed a lot of babies. You know, probably drank a lot of bottles and kissed a lot of cheeks. I don't know. But
So probably it was more like drank a lot of bottles, kissed a lot of babies, and handshaking was a distant third.
yeah, or lots of kissing on the cheeks.
Yeah.
Perhaps something.
Perhaps. That's funny.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to go to the next one?
We should go to a break.
Okay.
We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to turn this white into red, although I do have two different glasses, so we can keep them both going.
Yeah.
When we come back, and we'll see you in a moment. Welcome back to Wine Time Fridays episode. Oh my gosh, it's 198. Shelley, we're 2 away from 200
episodes. Yeah.
And I think I have an idea what I'm going to get.
We're not having a wine from Tasmania? I thought
No, it's only a $30 sparkler.
Tasmania?
Yeah, that one's only $30. I looked it up.
Okay.
But I do have some ideas. I would love to get, actually, this is a great segue as I open up this 2021, Cabernet Franc. Did I say that right? I love that.
That's his favorite variety right now, Cab Franc.
Oh, I love Cab Franc. Okay, so I'm curious, why would you open the 21 before the 19?
Well, that's a great question. Great question. Honestly, I only did it because of vintage and probably errantly because I haven't opened it yet. Actually, I did open this Barrel EXP.
Oh, yeah.
It's open because you said you had opened both yours. I thought we probably want to let that breathe a little bit. Should we do that one now?
21 might need to be a little air. If anything, I think the 21, it's 2 years younger. So if anything, it needs a little bit more air than the 19. Although the 19 is still a baby. We sell out of we're known for our Cab Franc, and I make several different Cab Francs. I make somewhere between 45 to 50 different SKUs. So different wines, different blends. And I'll make several Cab Francs. I love Cab Franc. And I think that everyone in Napa can make a great Cabernet Sauvignon, but not everybody makes a great Cabernet Franc. So are you suggesting we make a little pivot here and go to the 19?
No,
I was just curious on what you were doing. We can certainly go to the Cab Franc. I would say because it's younger, maybe,
That was kind of my thought. And then the price point, I was thinking, and I know that shouldn't really come into play necessarily, but the Cab Franc is about an $80 bottle of wine, and the next one we would do is close to $120. And so
I would say actually that Barrel Experiment is 100% new oak, and so it has a lot of big tannins in it.
Okay.
And the Cab Franc is probably about 45% new oak. I just know that if it were up to me, I would have hung on to it for just a little longer. But everybody seems to like the Cab Franc, so we sold out of it, and we put little baby wines out there for the viewers and for the consumers to drink. I only hope that people buy one, drink one now, because it does taste good. And then hang on to one, buy one,
lay it down for 5 or 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah, but you'll see, you'll taste it, and you'll understand my style perhaps on the other side. I was just a curiosity on how people do it.
Well,
your mindset makes sense. More expensive. Yeah.
The 2021 Peju Cabernet Franc. Shelley, would you pour yours? Because I actually want to ask Sarah while we're doing this, what would you suggest for a 200th episode? And along with that same questioning, what was your gateway wine to get you to go, oh my God, this wine stuff is really cool?
Well, okay, so gateway. Fun fact, my very first job ever was working at the very first Kendall Jackson facility back in the mid to late 80s. And when Jed Steele was still making the wine, he was the winemaker at the time. I used to babysit his kids and work there kind of off and on. I used to brew beer together with my dad all through high school. I grew up on a 400-acre ranch that's all organic. It's been in my family since 1884. And we had pears, and my dad converted it to organic. And so with codling moths and what have you, it was better suited for pear brandy and pear eau de vie. So in high school, I would say that I was working in high school in KJ at Kendall Jackson, and they wouldn't do this anymore, but they used to give us a bottle of wine or two after bottling. And I played quarters. I drank a lot of the wines, and I would go into the cellar and make my special blends back in high school. So I was enjoying doing that back before I knew I was going to go into wine. I was an art major initially and then moved into wine. So I think just being able to go in and play, I can tell you with the wine that was not my gateway, but I drank it anyway. I played quarters with the Kendall Jackson Chardonnay. And so now if you drink my Chardonnay, it's, I don't care for the big, buttery, oaky, sweet flavor profile.
Hasn't that been changing a little bit?
What was it?
Hasn't that been trending away from that a little bit?
Yes, but there's still people that very much enjoy it. So
yeah.
So it's one of those things where, some people it's Jägermeister or tequila or something.
And the butter bomb shards.
Yeah. Kendall Jackson Chardonnay for me. Thank you, but no, thank you. Sorry, Kendall Jackson. Some of my favorite people are winemakers there. And so this is no diss to what they're doing today. That just happens to be my.
Well, by the way, that Kendall Jackson Chardonnay is going to taste basically the same year after year after year. And that's a model because they blend all.
No, but maybe not anymore.
It's just a really interesting model.
It's definitely one that there's a style behind it that people like. And truth be told, it's actually difficult to make a wine that is consistent, that tastes the same every single year. People think that, that must be easy. It's actually not that easy. It is hard to do that. It's easy. I don't know. It's winemakers. It's the difference between cooking and baking. And I'd say, maybe we're in different groups, right? There's definitely the bakers that are like, everything has to be real specific. And then there's the ones that are true, like chefs that want to taste and flavor and massage and would have a very difficult time making something taste exactly the same, because you want to like add a little of this and change it up a little bit and vintage variations. Anyway, sorry, I went.
I always say I am not a baker.
Yeah, she is a baker.
I'll burn every cookie there is, but I am a cook.
Hashtag cheersing on this Cab Franc.
Cheersing.
Not ching. I don't know what happens to my screen.
Yeah, this could open up a little bit.
It's young.
Well, so mine has been poured for a little bit, and it definitely has shifted. So maybe what we'll do is we'll swirl it around a little bit, and then we'll circle back and finish it just to see how it changes. I always think it's interesting for people, if you open a wine and it's a little tight or tastes a little young, you can aerate, pour wine back and forth between two glasses, decant it, get some air in there. And what you're doing is you're kind of pushing it to like what it would be with age. It's not same, but it definitely, the tannins start polymerizing and softening up a little bit. It opens it up. So it's always fun to be able to, know that you can play with your wine, like play with your food, play with your wine, shift and change it.
I love that.
So that's a fun fact also. If you don't have a decanter, just switch your wine back and forth.
Yeah.
I do that.
Or narrator. Yeah.
Or just let the wine open up over conversation.
Mm-hmm.
All of those are good ideas. And really, it's just fun to taste a wine in the beginning.
Boy,
let it
I
open up.
absolutely agree.
If it's at a different temperature, even temperature changes. Anyway.
So this came out of our cellar, which is pretty much at 58 degrees, give or take a degree all year long. And by cellar, I just mean it's downstairs, behind a foundation. It's a perfect cellar, and so it's warmed up a little bit. But on the next break, I'll go get a couple more glasses so we can do a proper side by side and see how they grow, so we don't have to use the same glass.
So this one is 81% Cab Franc.
It is. I'm going to double confirm this. I thought it was 86%, but let me see. That's 81%. 81%. That's what the tape. Yeah. So 81%.
19 Cab. So
yes. And fun fact is Cabernet Franc and Sauvignon Blanc. You guys know this, though. Like maybe not everybody else.
Right? No, they don't.
They are the parents of Cabernet Sauvignon, which is what we're going to be tasting next.
It still makes no sense to me. I hear it over and over. I'm like, oh yeah.
I forgot that.
So funny. 3 weeks ago, Shelley and I were in the Tri-Cities, and we were in Walla Walla.
In Washington, not San Bernardino.
Yeah, in Washington, Walla Walla. And North Star has a blending experience. I'm sure there are some wineries that do this, but theirs is fairly well known. And for Christmas, I gave Shelley a blending experience. So we went and blended our own wines. And so they're down in the cellar now and going to be laying down for a minimum of 12 to 13 months, probably longer. I don't know why we can't go longer, but they said you're going to want to open them after a year, but we'll see. But they're Merlot heavy. So
well, Merlot heavy, because that's what they do there. It's one of their, isn't that one of their main blends? Also, the way they bottle it, if they bottled it and it wasn't under pressure, maybe they're recommending, I don't know how they bottled it, but it could be if it was just a
little thing.
Yeah, it was very cool. Yeah, put the bottle in and
not under pressure. No,
it wasn't under pressure.
No, it probably wasn't, but it still seems like when you're pressing that cork in, you're going to get some. I don't know. It'll be interesting, but you're probably right.
There's usually a little bit of more oxygen exchange when you hand bottle something like that, which is even if they gas the bottle, which I'm sure they did. So that could be why they were suggesting. What was the vintage of the wine?
22.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you have more than one bottle, fun. You could pour a in it, or you could, drink a bottle.
Except for different blends.
Yeah, she did a different blend than I did.
We both did ripen.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. So, but we just actually did get her daughter gave her a Corvin for Christmas, so we are set. In fact, Shelley even suggested on this next one to use that. I'm like, I don't think that would be.
Because we don't know how to use it.
We don't know how to use it yet. I don't want to do this on camera. But I also think that this is worthy of. Truth be told, since we're all sharing fun facts, I said, do we have a steak? Because I think tonight calls for a steak. So I'll be making a store run here shortly to get a little
perfect
something.
So,
speaking of fun facts, so the gentleman who created the Corvin, his very first winery he ever went to and tasted wine at was Peju. So we we ended up being a beta site for them back when they first got started.
That's amazing.
It's fantastic. We don't have a ton of wines downstairs that would warrant this. I've got a 13 Barolo, and I've got a Magnum from Scribe. Scribe actually numbers their bottles, and this was from, I think, 16, but it's 0001. It was the first Magnum. So I'll probably want to take a taste out of that just to see, but I'm a big fan of opening the bottle and drinking it.
Yeah,
So
me too.
Can you explain for our listeners, when you say this is aged 40% new oak?
Yeah.
So how do you do that process?
So the process, so I basically have a plan for the different SKUs that I make and we're primarily a estate. So I know and I've been here 18 harvests now. I know what different blocks can handle and what the appropriate oak percentage of new oak should be. So when the fruit comes in, I keep everything separate. So I have multiple different vineyard blocks of Cabernet Franc. So out of the 6 different vineyards that we have, I have Cabernet Franc planted in 4 of them. But that doesn't mean there's just one block of it. In that, I have different clones of Cab Franc in various areas. So all of that comes in, and if a different block comes in, I am basically saying, oh, you're Cabernet Franc, and you're going to be slotted likely to our Napa Valley Cab program. Then I will put it down to 40 to 45% new oak. I taste it. Every once in a while, I'm like, okay, this one can handle a little bit more. This one maybe like a little bit less. But in general, I'm shooting for about that same percentage. So I will have some of that same block in neutral oak. So no new oak influence. And then the rest of it goes to 100% new oak. And then when I blend it, it ends up being about 40 to 45% new. Right. The nice thing about that is that I can always go back to any vineyard block in any of our vineyards and taste it without any oak influence and know what that block tastes like without it. And then it's fun. And we're going to get to barrel experiments next and how I choose oak. But I don't want to steal the thunder or the next wine.
So I know that we need to go to a break soon, but I have to ask this. You came in at Peju with some very aggressive targets and goals. You wanted to change it from you wanted to be organically farmed.
Or sustainable.
Sustainable and organically farmed. What were those challenges that you faced when you went into, because you did it rather quickly, didn't you? Like in a year or two, you had accomplished your goal?
Yeah. So, so truth be told, my father has been on the board of directors of CCOF. So in California, it's California Certified Organic Farming. So I was raised with, organic, everything is important. Sustainability is important. Basically, I had hippie parents. I wasn't allowed to watch TV. I was a big bookworm. I couldn't have red food dye. There's a bunch of I could go down. That's a whole nother episode. It probably has nothing to do with wine, except I might be drinking a lot of wine when I talk about it. Joking aside. I'm a believer of things organic. I eat most of the food that I eat. Unless I'm going out is organic. I believe in growing things sustainably. I think it's important. I wish, I will be quick and won't say too much, but I really do believe that, the food that we eat and whatever we put in our body should be nutritious and healthy. And we should be all paying attention. I feel that, the people in the U.S. we're not paying attention to that as much as we should. That's a different conversation.
Spot on. Yep.
Yeah. So, growing, coming here, and they had already been starting down the path of growing things organically and sustainably. The Pejus, I think because of their nursery background and growing plants, understood that. And so I was able to come in and go hey, you guys are on this path. I know how to do this. Let me do it. In fact, it was an easy thing. And so then we did. And so it's been everybody thinks it's going to be so much more expensive, and it's not if you do it well. It does not have to be, it's really going out and paying more attention. And I think that anytime someone has to go out in their vineyard and look at it and walk it more often, it's just better.
It's not a bad thing.
One of the funny things. It's not a bad thing. It's actually a great thing. Mr. Peju always wanted things to look aesthetically pleasing, and an organic vineyard, things are not, we don't look like our neighbors. And sometimes maybe that was a little bit difficult because, it's alive. We have bunny rabbits and all sorts of little animals and critters. We have good bugs, the bad bugs, but we have more good bugs. We try to ensure that there's a good natural biome out there that, is healthy and balanced. And I think that it just shows in the fruit and it shows in the wines. And I feel comfortable walking out in the vineyard, and I hope more and more people do it. And, I think that it's just a positive, good thing. So
when you talk about the perception of, oh my gosh, we're going organic and sustainable, it's going to be a lot more money. If you've committed to that being your culture, it's really not going to affect that much. Are there more labor hours maybe for you, like you said, to walk the vineyards? Yes. But again, not a bad thing. You become even more with a relationship with those vineyards.
I think it's good. All good.
So I want to take one last break. Okay. And when we come back, Shelley and I will have an extra glass because we're going to actually, see how this is opening up. It's already opening up, the Cab Franc, but
it is. Yeah.
The next one, how do you call that? It's barrel.
It's my barrel experiment, and we call it Barrel EXP now. We used to actually call it Barrel Experiment. However, we had a little, there was a market, some issues with using the word experiment. So I suggested we use the word, just use EXP, because that's my shorthand that I use on all of my work orders and communication with my seller and on my team. So it is our Barrel EXP, which just is short for experiment.
We'll be right back to open that. I'll be right back too. Welcome back to Wine Time Fridays with Shelley, Phil, and Sara Fowler, Peju's acclaimed winemaker. And we're in February, which is weird. The last one we're opening today is this 2019, it's 100% Cab Sauv barrel experiment that we're calling Barrel EXP because we don't want to get into trouble.
Well, that's the name now, Barrel EXP.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you that for Shelley, and then I'm going to top off on the Cab Franc a little bit so we can really see how this is working.
Anyway, about the Cab Franc, it's a good wine to pair with lamb, right? Lamb dishes.
It sure is. So stylistically, with the red wines that white wines too, but I like really good acidity, and I make the wines with intent to go with food. I also like to cook. I understand you do too, Shelley. And for me, wine, I have more of a European mindset on, what it's like. I want food with my wine. I want a little bit of something. I don't, I will certainly have a glass of Sauvignon Blanc without anything I can do, but a red wine in particular, I want some food with it. And I love the way that food plays with wine and vice versa. And when you hit it right, it elevates the food and it elevates the wine when it's done well. And that's those are perfect. It's one of the most interesting things to do.
This smells like a Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon.
That's funny.
Well, that's what it is.
That's good.
Yeah. So I've been making.
Sorry, keep talking over you. This is from the Rutherford district. Is this one?
So this is not. This is actually from our Persephone vineyard. And here's the thing. This is actually my barrel experiment. I have been doing a barrel experiment for almost 30 years. Not all at Peju because I've only been here for 18, but I have been doing a barrel experiment for a really long time. And what I'm doing is I'm finding a red wine. It's a Cabernet Sauvignon. I actually do this with Pinot, Chardonnay. I like to play with it in a few of my other varietals. Maybe not every year, but I do. Well, this is my biggest experiment. This is the one that I will invite my winemaker friends to, the other Coopers to come to taste. But I'm finding, I like to find a red wine that is a good, solid red wine, but doesn't have any unique flavor characteristics. I want it to be, kind of just a good, I don't even know, but I want it to have great fruit and good acidity and all those things, but I don't want to have a distinct flavor. A lot of times, like here in Rutherford, there are some flavor characteristics that are true to Rutherford, but I wouldn't want that in my barrel experiment because that's going to shift and change, maybe the perception of the barrel. So I want something that's kind of like, just kind of neutral, which sounds terrible, but it's not neutral like in a bad way, but like nothing specific is popping out because what I'm doing is this wine is 100% new oak. In my barrel experiment, I have the same wine in anywhere from 30 to over 60 different barrel types, but I also have a neutral oak portion that I'm tasting against. So for the experiment portion, I am tasting neutral oak. Hey, this is what the wine tastes like without any oak influence. And then I'm putting that same wine in 30 to 65 different types of barrels. And I won't taste them until it's been in barrel, likely for at least 14 to 16 months. And then I go through and I taste it at least 3 times blind, mixed together. And I'm doing 2 things. One, I'm trying to see, like, what is that barrel influencing? What is it adding to the wine? And then I'm also double checking to make sure that the cooper who I'm buying the barrel from is consistent. And it goes back to, I did this back in the early 80s, where there was a barrel cooper, unbeknownst to me at the time, and unbeknownst to me and my other winemaker colleagues, that had grown really quick, fast. And what they were doing is they were cutting corners on the barrel side. Well, we didn't know this. They were a fancy little French, boutique cooperage that they were growing because they were great. They were delicious. They were well known in France. So they grow so quick, fast that if we had not been doing, me and my colleagues hadn't been checking in on them, we would maybe not have known. So by doing the barrel experiment, you can go like, hey, that quality doesn't taste the same as it did last year. And then you taste it and like the following year, like, gosh, they're getting worse. And so like truly able to reach out to them and going like, hey, this isn't okay. Like, this is not good. Well, I think winemakers kind of like linked arms and said, guys, whatever's happening, we don't know what's happening. It was really before the internet and where it was just kind of, it wasn't what it was today. And going like, hey, the quality, this isn't working well. Well, what we were able to do, because we did stuff like doing an experiment, is change how they were managing and doing their work. So it took them a few years, but they let go of some people. They fine-tuned better, and they went back to some older, policies, how they were making barrels before. And now it took them a long time to kind of clean up that reputation of that little that tiny period of a few years of, being a little greedy, I think, to fast forward. Now they're, they have the reputation back. They're solid, they're good. And so we need to, the industry and probably all industries, right? You're double checking, you're doing the experiments, you're doing the trials, you're testing, you're trying, because if someone's out there and providing a bad barrel, anyway, it's my long-winded way of saying I use it for 2 different ways of, ensuring that the quality, I want the best barrels for our wine. I want the best bang for my buck. I want to make sure that people are consistent on their end, providing, oak influences the way wine tastes. And because of that, we need to be very careful on what we allow to touch our wine. And I think what I love about this, and I think people sometimes just get really shocked by it. So, consumers out there, when you taste it, it's 100% new oak, 100%. It does not taste like you're chewing on wood.
No,
and
it doesn't.
It is. I'm like, it's a beauty. I'm like, and every vintage we do this, it makes me happy that we're choosing good oak. I throw a few small up to 2 barrels of a lot of stuff. The barrels that I purchase for all of it is pretty consistent, but I love throwing new stuff in. All the coopers come out with new stuff every year. It's almost exhausting. Hey, coopers, if you're listening, know that for us, it's a lot of work, but it's interesting.
Well,
they need to do a barrel experiment with Boeing. Because something not them either.
That's a conversation for another day
or another show.
So we should
pour a few more bottles of wine.
Yeah. Hashtag cheersing. And we are tasting the signature wine of Sara Fowler. Yes?
Well, yeah, it's one of, I suppose. I brought this to
This is
Peju.
you.
You
Oh, they're
know,
all
yeah, when I started here, we were making 12 SKUs. So we had 12 different blends, and now I pushed it up to 45 to 50. So I'm really hoping we dial it back a little bit, but try to keep our wine club members happy.
That's a lot of SKUs.
There's a lot of SKUs, and there's a sweet spot there somewhere.
How many cases do you produce per year?
You know, we are somewhere between, 2020, it kind of skews us a little bit because we didn't make 2020. So I made more of the 2020, 2019 and 2021. But if I average and take out the, you know, what it would be, we're right around 50,000 cases. You know, we're 45 to 50,000 cases. And that's a good place to be. I don't.
Except for this year, you're going to do 60,000 cases because of all that fruit that came in.
Yeah.
Well, this is really yummy.
You won't know?
Well, no, I'm like, hey, I might be selling some. I don't know. We'll see. There was more. It wasn't more of Sauvignon Blanc, but we definitely had, and we don't sell fruit. We just typically, or maybe we'll pull out some, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have an extra SKU for all that extra fruit.
Who knows? 2023, I'm putting together my 2023 whites and my 2021 reserves and my 2022 Napa Valley, SKUs right now. So 2023 reds are like, I've got some time.
Yeah, a little bit. We have tasted through so far. Well, this is it, but it's the 2022 Peju Sauvignon Blanc, which, by the way, we had from one of our wine clubs that clubbed that wine. And I'm like, what the heck? This is really good. And so, and then I picked up another bottle. I'm like, we need to reach out. And we did. And you were gracious enough to accept. So we appreciate that. We also have the 2021 Peju Cab Franc, which was 91% Cab Franc and 9% Cab Sauv. 81. My
and
mind.
19% Cab Sauv.
Cab Sauv. And then the 2019 Barrel EXP. The Sauv Blanc is about $30 at the winery. The Cab Franc about $80 at the winery. This last one about $120. And they are all perfectly priced with what you're getting in this glass. And this stuff is still opening up quite a bit. And this now has been open for 50 minutes, this EXP. But it opens up much quicker in the glass than it does if you just have it in the bottle.
And it's amazing because you do not taste that it's new oak, 100% new oak. That's unbelievable.
Right?
Yeah.
People are blown away all the time. And that just goes to show you if you have really good oak and balanced fruit, how it doesn't have to like overpower. And then the Cab Franc, I just like put a little plug. It's a baby, but I love Cab Franc. I am like, that's out of my red wines. I love Cab Franc. It's just one of those interesting things. And for the consumers, what did you learn today? You learned that Sauvignon Blanc and Cabernet Franc made, beautiful Cabernet Sauvignon. So
yeah,
we have the mom that,
we really do have the whole family here on this one.
That's true.
Yeah.
And then I read on your social media, which they do a good job of. I loved the Barbie. So
thank you, Katerina.
Harvest Barbie and Harvest Ken. That was fun. I don't know if you saw it.
I did not.
They were doing a punch down contest.
Oh, wow. That's a great idea.
Did Saint I said, did Saint Superi take you up on the challenge?
Oh, they did. Yeah. So, yes. So, again, this winemaking, up and down the corridor, we're all friends. It's wonderful how close a lot of us are, most of us are. And they did. And the Barbie thing was so fun. It was just, yeah. And
how far away?
I didn't realize we were going to be doing a virtual. So you got me on glasses and pigtail day, but
nice.
It is. It's what I look like during harvest. So,
How far away is Saint Superi from you?
Oh, I can see if I peek. I'm like literally if I peek out the window, I can see them. So they're that
There's
close.
another great Sauvignon Blanc is Saint Superi.
Mhm.
But
Yes.
but really
They're
actually quite
winemakers,
different. Yeah, it's we love Saint Superi as well. I wanted to just say the social web wine word of the week.
Yes.
Expressive, Shelley. Expressive. An expressive wine has aromas and flavors that come through clearly and boldly. By the way, all of these wines
this
are
one is
expressive.
expressive even if you don't want it to be.
And so,
It's neutral.
yeah, expressiveness extends beyond just intensity. It also involves a harmonious interplay of different elements. That's actually a great segue. Harmonious interplay. Next week, we're going to have Barry Aiken on for our Wine is Like Music, our first keyboard player.
Oh, nice.
So, Sarah, we bring someone on that's a musician, and they taste through a wine and write music to what they're tasting.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's so cool. Yeah. So we've had 2 of those in that series. We'll get one more. And this is a part of our Women in Wine series with Sara Fowler, which is fantastic. More and more women winemakers. It's about freaking time.
It really is. I've been making wine for over 31 years, and there was such a small percentage of us in the beginning. And it is so nice to see more and more women, come into this industry, realize that they can do the chemistry. Like, it doesn't have to be a male-dominated world. There's great male winemakers out there, by the way, also. But it's nice that there's more and more women getting out there, and we have really good palates. Just saying. We were protecting people from poisonous berries for a long time.
By the way, 80% of wine purchased by women. So come on.
Yep. That's true. Anyway, so when I went to your social media, I learned that you have new 17 scores of 90 plus point wines just recently. So congratulations on that. That's really cool.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
Are you a big believer and love those big scores, or it seems like more and more we talk to people and are like, that's really nice, but we're not making wine for the scores?
Yeah, if I were making wines for the scores, I don't know that I would enjoy drinking them. And here's the thing: every person that tastes has a different palate, and I think that if we're really specific to, I feel like it's nice to be true to like what you're producing. And then people who like your flavor profiles, that like the way that you like make wine, hopefully they'll come in, and that's I want to please the people that are drinking the wine. I want to make you guys happy. And I'm like, I think the winery loves to get good scores. We don't actually submit that often. It's an interesting, out of all the wines we make, not everything even goes in for scoring. One, by the way, it's expensive to submit for scoring. It's a whole racket.
You are not the first person that said that. Well, it's really interesting. In the first segment, none of this of anytime we have guests on, the first segment, it's never said. It's always the third or fourth segment after that, glass and a half of wine. It's like, yeah, it's a racket. I'm going to tell you.
But I do feel like the consumers need, just like, I might need some fashion help, right? So I'm going to look to someone who I think is fashionable, right? Or whatever. Or I like to cook, and I might go after a celebrity chef, the type of food that they like to cook. So there's a place for it when people are insecure, maybe don't know that much about the product, then they want to lean on someone that they trust. And they go, ooh, you know what? They said this was a great wine. I tasted it. I think it's a great wine. I'm going to follow that person. And that's okay. Like that, there's something to be said with like learning that. And then I would just say, consumer, please start trusting your own palate. Know that whatever you like is okay, and trust that, and go out there and taste a lot and explore and be creative and enjoy wine, because it's enjoyable.
Like I said, Robert Parker's just one opinion. And it's really great that he has helped people to just what you just said, to help lead them in a certain direction. But it's just one opinion. Now you see a label that says decanter 91 points, or what a wine enthusiast 92 points. That's great. but ultimately you're going to have to taste and trust your own palate.
Yep.
And that's a part of the adventure, in essence.
Yes.
You know,
and it's a great adventure.
It's a fantastic adventure.
Yes, it is.
There's no adventure better.
No.
Yeah.
Since we don't ski or anything like that.
Well, I ski mentally, but some wines we enjoyed this week. Eternal Wines Roussanne. We had 2 Mountain Reserve Cab Franc, Eisenhower Syrah, Turtle Rock Willows Tickled Pink Rosé. Turtle Rock's making some good juice there, Sarah, down out of Paso Robles. And Duckhorn Three Palms Vineyard Merlot. Hadn't ever heard of that one, but
Never. That was our Christmas wine, wasn't it?
Yeah, we we did have it on Christmas, and we had it again a couple of weeks later because it's just that good. It's really good. So some things coming up. First of all, today we haven't even mentioned this about. We said South African. Today is happy birthday to South African wine. They're making great wines, great price points. I love seeing new evolution, yes, in terms of that. Hospice wine event is coming up. By the way, can I just say, a week from tomorrow at Peju, if you're down in Napa, they're having the Valentine's Day brunch.
Yeah, I wish I was there.
Well, maybe we'll have to make a trip down.
We will have to do
We're
that
going to be
someday.
down close-ish,
Ish.
closer to
San Diego.
Yeah, we're in San Diego. Close-ish anyway. So that's on the 10th. Anyway, Hospice wine event here in town. Shelley and I will be pouring. That is on Sunday, 2 days from today. And Monday is Rosé Day if you're in Australia or New Zealand because it's summer there. We like rosé every day, all day. Doesn't matter. February 16th, International Syrah Day. The North Idaho Enological Society event with Ed Holmes and Jay Bookwalter Wines. By the way, our friends Sarah and Mark will be in April.
For the NI, yes.
Yep. For Liberty Lake Wine Cellars. The 18th of February, Global Drink Wine Day, blah, blah, blah. Every day is wine day. And Open That Bottle Nights, the 24th. I think we're going to do Nebbiolo, Barolo, and Barbaresco. Old World versus New World for Open That Bottle Night. And episode 200 is right around the corner. Sarah, do you know about Open That Bottle Night?
I do. I've participated in that many times. Yes. It's fun.
Yeah, so what do you pull out for an event like that when you go? Because it really is about that opening that bottle, that thing. Yeah.
Something that's just older, maybe more interesting, depends on the mood that I'm in. But I try to find something that, why am I holding on to this? And who would I like to share stuff with? And so that's really what it's about for me. And it's fun to just, like have an excuse to, you're like, oh, that one. I mean, I have some too. Like, you don't want to open it, but you don't want to open it just anytime with just anybody. But those are just good events. And you're like, hey, an excuse. Let's open that bottle night. Find something and then be able to talk about how interesting it is. Or gosh darn it, I should have opened it weeks, months, years ago. It tends to happen.
Yeah, it can, can't it? When you're not drinking Peju wines, what is another producer you really enjoy?
You don't have to answer that.
When I'm not drinking I would say that I drink bubbles. I drink a lot of champagne. I mean, like you just, everybody who knows me knows that you can pretty much get me to do most things, including work. I mean, like I will, dangle a bottle of bubbles, good ones, by the way, in front of me. Yeah. And the answer is yes.
So Sarah, have you had a barrel fermented sparkler?
I have. And you know what? A lot of bubbles out there are actually barrel fermented, have some oak on it. The interesting thing is that the base wine is made like any other base wine, picked a little earlier, higher acidity, but all those things can be done to a sparkling on the other side. And that's what makes it so interesting. All right, Phil, have you had the same wine with different disgorge dates?
Well, funny you should say that. Last week we had Tiradis, which is a Washington sparkling wine producer that is really trying. It's all method champenois, but they're trying to show Washington fruit in these sparklers, and they are killing it. And by the way,
they're young.
They're young.
What are they, like 24?
Yeah. Yeah, they're young, and they are. It was such a fire hose of education and information last week, on last week's episode. But
and their name comes from
tirage, riddle,
and disgorge.
Tiridas.
Oh, okay, that's very interesting. So they were able to tell you and talk to you about the different disgorging and what it would potentially do.
Right, and what they did was the first 3 wines that we tasted. One was the base wine, one was the tirage, and then the final product. And then we tasted through 5 other sparklers, and one of them being a barrel fermented, which blew my socks off. I never knew it could have that weight.
We've had other barrel fermented.
Sparkler?
Yeah,
I don't.
Champagnes.
They're not doing them so much now. It was really good.
Don't talk about it. You have to dig. Maybe you have to dig a little deeper to find out that that's what they're doing. But it's interesting. So you could, but if you on the back of labels of certain producers, you'll see a disgorged date on it. And if you can find one, and not very many people do it, but with people that do, find a disgorged date and find one that's like a year or 2 before and a newer one, and taste those. It's fantastic. It's the same exact wine, but just the disgorging time is different. So I don't know. I just it's a fun thing to do, and I encourage you to
do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Really Shelley tends to get sleepy with sparklers, but all of a sudden this year we've had a lot of sparklers, and we've had some champagnes on that we featured, and so we're kind of going in that direction.
Well, they have less alcohol too, so that's nice.
These are 11.5%. So anyway, it was such a fun episode, and just to learn all about that was a lot of fun. Like we already said, next week, Wine is Like Music series with keyboardist Barry Aiken. I've gone over all of this, Shelley.
All right.
Sara, thank you so much for spending some time with us. Thank you so much for making great wine. Thank you so much for producing wine we're going to have with dinner tonight. These have both opened up really well. They're fantastic wines. If you have a chance, Peju is in this town all over the place if you look. And so mostly it's the Sauvignon Blanc, but ask your retailer. I want to get some of this Cab Sauv. I want to get a Cab Franc from Peju, or one of the other 46 SKUs that they're producing. Today,
well, mostly they have to get wines from the tasting room, the website. We only have a few wines out in distribution. Yeah.
Look below. We have in the show notes the Peju website, as well as the links to each of these wines. But go visit. In fact, go down to Napa. Just do it. Stop making excuses and visit our friends down there at Peju. Thank you again so much for spending some time with us. And a big thanks to today's sponsors, CDA Gourmet, Eternal Wine. And with a little bit of knowledge, wine becomes a lot less overwhelming. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Sara, again. And we'll see you next week with Barry Aiken. Thank you for spending part of your day to wind down with Shelley and Phil. Remember, you can listen to any episode of the Wine Time Fridays podcast by visiting winetimefridays.com or wherever you get your podcasts. And join us on our Wine Time Fridays Facebook page, Instagram, or on Twitter, which is @VintageTweets, for daily conversation. Until next week, here's our toast to you. To health, wealth, abundance, gratitude, peace on earth, and of course, romance.